Welcome back, everyone, to another late night episode of Neon
Neon Popsicle.
Popsicle.
I am your host, Jason P. With me, as always, is my co-host Stephen P. And this show, a lot of people ask me what the show's about, but I don't think it's really so important what the show's about. I think what's really important about a quality show is what it does for you as a person. And this show here was designed to do the most important thing that we can ask for nowadays. It's to open the mind, free the spirit, and to understand that we as humans truly know nothing.
Understand and admit.
Admit it.
All right? Pride gets in the way. Man does not know everything. NASA's not real, and space doesn't exist.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Proceed,
Hold on.
brother.
Hold on.
Proceed.
Bro, that's what we're here to uncover, is the lies, the deception, and we throughout the 150 plus I think this is 160 right now. I think this is
160,
the episode
baby.
160, right?
Oh, there it is.
Now episode. Oh my God, Steven!
Sorry, making a beat.
Man, it's all good. It's okay. The
160.
important thing about episode 160 is that there's been 160 of them for us to understand.
Oh, sorry.
You.
Okay, sorry. Last one.
It's
That was
okay.
my last one.
Anytime we bring up the number 160, we should do the air horn.
Okay.
Basically, we learned through the episodes that everything is basically a lie. The plants don't eat sunshine. Okay, that's stupid. I hear so many people talking on YouTube now, and they're telling me shit like, "Oh, well, these aliens." One example. You know Bashar.
Bashar.
I'm here to fucking call out
one and
Bashar. I'm gonna call out Bashar.
Daddy Bashar. You guys know Bashar?
More like Bashil.
Bullshit.
More like
That's what it is.
More like Bolshar. Am I right?
Bullshar. There it is. Let me hear it again.
Man. A lot of the teachings.
Bashar debunked.
Debunked right here on Neon Popsicle. Like the stream, guys. If you know Bashar, if you're a Bashar fan, if you hate Bashar, like the stream, go subscribe. Anyway, he preaches a lot of, like, he doesn't preach, okay? He channels, okay? He channels
Yep.
an alien entity that has a message for humanity. I just feel like a lot of what he says is just like, it's like profound spiritual teachings and shit. Basically, you can manifest whatever you want in this physical plane, but he's just putting on the face of someone channeling. I could do that. I'm doing that. I'm just not pretending. Yes, and if you really believe you are what your spirit says you are, then you can manifest this physical realm to be exactly as you please. Just because I'm not doing that doesn't mean I'm not channeling truth.
Absolutely. I'd say it's more truth to be able. I think it's more conscious.
Wow.
Hear me out. It's more conscious and higher vibration to be able to channel truth while also experiencing your human body. Being able to experience giving that truth is way higher vibration than just giving responsibility over to whatever truth you're channeling. That's representative energy. You're giving yourself to that thing to then channel. You are submitting entirely, whereas we are still in control of our bodies and channeling that truth. We don't lose control to fucking Bashar. Amen. Bashar has no power over us. Check this out. I'm gonna show you a Bashar. Look how cheesy he looks. I'm gonna show you all what he looks like. This is him. Please.
This reminds me of Naruto. All right, bear with me. When he learns Sage Jutsu, he's channeling the nature energy. But when he's unexperienced, he loses himself to it. He becomes the toad.
Ah.
But an experienced Sage Jutsu user, ergo you and I, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but we don't get overtaken by the Forspoken Toad, the aforementioned Toad.
No.
We are able to
No.
maintain our human form and kick Pain's ass.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's it. I'm better than Bashar.
100%. We say that, and that's
See-
it's
do you
not
see
even
that?
like he's saying anything revolutionary. As above, so below, brother. All this information's already been said.
Steve.
There's nothing he says that was mind blowing.
Steven. Do you
Nothing.
See,
What?
do you see this?
What?
What's that?
Are you forming a? What's this?
Steven, that's been. Oh my God.
It's been with me the whole time.
Steve, what's going on? Am I opening a?
Your third eye is. Did you
I
just
do that a lot
e-girl face
now.
At me, dude? Did you just?
I know, I did not. Oh, hey, gal.
Did you just Bell feed me?
Don't claim I did. Don't you ever say I ahegowed on this podcast. I'll never ahegow on the internet.
It's gonna get clipped. You've already done it. It's done. The deed is done.
Oh no! My mouth was a little
You've
open,
done it
wasn't
again.
it? No! I've
It's done,
ahegowed.
bro.
I'm an official e-girl.
Officially.
Oh shit!
You should just become a VTuber now. Give yourself some tits.
No. No. What a nightmare, guys. This is not the way I expected the show to go. We're off to a rocky start.
Some serious transformation, some would say, huh?
Age of Aquarius, the awakening of the feminine.
Some transmutation. Hmm.
Yeah. Is it?
Check this out real quick. Let's see Daryl Anka. Let's see how illegitimate. This is the thing. When you have to put on an act to channel some bullshit, some move around and talk like this, and I'm a wizard from the Pleiades. Shut the. That's dumb.
Wow.
Okay, it's too. Okay, but
Too
check this out.
much.
Check him. Check this guy. Oh, it's too much.
Let's see.
You're an
I wanna watch.
overactor, Ellen. Knock it off. You're an overactor.
Daryl.
All right, check Daryl. Watch him.
Guys.
Fuckers.
This is what it looks like when he channels. When
Fuck
he's like
Daryl.
beginning the channeling
Fuck you,
process.
Thank you for being
Taking
here.
these
Have
people's
fun.
money.
Jason, that's
He
not how
takes
you
their
get
money.
Jason.
Those people paid to be there, I bet.
Absolutely.
Under the false
And
pretense
the VIPs
that he's
paid
channeling an alien. He says the same shit we
Listen to
do.
him.
Okay, sorry.
Bro, I'm not even kidding.
I'm sorry.
I'm not even kidding. He says the same esoteric, occult knowledge that we share, which is truth. He's connected to it, but the same thing. Look, hear me out. Truth is but a weapon to be wielded, and it's the power differential and how those people use the knowledge they have. You can use the same information, which is true. Some of it may be true, but now he's using it to benefit, to take money, to trick, to manipulate, to also weave in lies to benefit from this information personally. We're giving this out, dude. I'm not looking for people to pay for a conference to come see me channel. Do you see what I mean? It's a different energy. Like I said, truth is but a weapon to be wielded, and he's using it for his own selfish
Truth
gains.
is but a weapon to be wielded. Shakespeare.
I will see you later.
I will see you later. Shut up. Yeah, sorry.
What, did he get
Here
her
goes,
number
watch
or
him.
something?
Here he goes. Watch him. Listen to him. Can you hear him?
See how he wipes his mouth first. That's not, why does he wipe his mouth first to channel Bashar? Does Bashar not like wet lips?
Doesn't like wet lips.
He'll only come if his lips are dry.
Listen to his noises. Listen
Sorry.
to his noises.
All right, guys.
And then a second later he goes, "Hello, how are you all?" And it's
What?
like,
Let me try. Can I channel Bashar? Put a 1 in the chat if you guys
You wanna
believe
channel
that
Bashar?
I'm channeling Bashar. Ready? Hold on.
Drop a 1 in the chat. Drop a 1 in the chat.
Ready?
Yep, I'm ready. I'm waiting. You're doing good. Keep going. Channel. Channel, baby. Channel. Ooh. Uh-oh. Are you channeling? He's channeling the neon, guys. Just. I don't hear any clicking.
Hello.
I don't hear clicking noises coming. I didn't hear any predator clicking noises coming from you.
Can you hear that?
No, no, it's got to be in your mic. You got to be in your mic. You gotta.
My noise canceling. Hello. My name is Bashanti.
Bashanti. Bashanti was allegedly, I think, killed by P. Diddy.
I broke contact!
Sorry, dude.
You made me break contact. Bashanti, I couldn't quite channel Bashar, but there was a nearby entity with a similar name. I think it had him lash on. Bashanti.
Was it maybe Ashanti? It was Ashanti, I'm pretty sure.
Bashanti. I'm sorry, guys.
When did she...
That was close. We almost got some real deep information. Open the mind, free the spirit, and understand.
I no disrespect to Ashanti. I mean,
no, we love Ashanti. Here on Neon Popsicle, we love.
Yeah.
I was tapping my foot on the ground.
I think she's alive still. Ashanti isn't who I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Aaliyah.
No, Bashanti was who I channeled.
Ashanti is the queen, dude. She's still around. It's Aaliyah. I was thinking. My fault. My fault, guys. My fault. My fault.
Respect.
My fault. Don't disrespect me.
Respect.
I think it was Jay-Z and or P. Diddy. Okay, not Jay-Z. I think it was P. Diddy. Let me see P. Diddy.
Well, I don't think I was channeling.
There's some wild.
Ashanti.
Sorry. Okay, all right. I'm sorry, guys.
There's a lot of women. There's a lot of women he fucked with. Okay, I'm sure there was a woman named Ashanti at some point.
It was Aaliyah. It was Aaliyah. I think they dated when she was like 16 or something crazy.
Damn.
Or who is it? Was it Aaliyah? Was it Ashanti?
Steven.
Like Steven. We'll get to the bottom of this, guys. We'll get to the bottom of this, guys. All right. Let's see here. So, I think channeling is bullshit. I don't think it's fair to people, and I think it's shedding responsibility.
I think you can channel.
It was channeled.
I think you can channel.
Yeah, you can channel.
But
to be possessed by the thing you're channeling is kind of weak.
And why is this thing that's channeling him telling me things that I heard on Neon Popsicle before? Like, isn't there greater information that we can learn than was on Neon Popsicle? Wait!
There is no greater information than what can be heard on Neon Popsicle. Are you understanding this yet?
If you guys can't channel Bashar, just watch Neon Popsicle. It's just as good. You get the same dose of knowledge. You don't have to have some weird alien entity named Bashar enter your body.
Dude, valid knowledge, though. Okay, should we go into some of Bashar's advice he gives people?
Yes. Let's take a little moment. We can go into some Basharian advice. Is that fair to say, Basharian?
I love that. That's the best way to say it. Basharian advice.
Wow. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys also love Basharian advice. I think it's okay.
Bashar.
My man.
He talks about, like, watch, dude. Just. Okay. Just hold on here. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to stream you guys some videos here of Bashar. You guys are going to see. Okay, this is the thing. The point I'm playing Bashar for is because I'm wanting to almost prove that the knowledge we give, the truth that we're tapped in, it's the same thing he's saying. He's just using it in a package to where he can sell it and get money from it, you know, directly make money from it, kind of in a selfish way. I feel like this information, if you have information that can benefit a person or humanity and you withhold information for money, I feel like that's low vibration, especially if it can help benefit humanity. It's the information should be free and valid. It shouldn't ever be withheld. Power differential is the only thing that keeps power in play. Knowledge differential, I should say, is the only thing that keeps power structures in play. But check this out.
In your imagination of who you prefer to be, what you prefer to be doing, where you prefer to be doing it, how you prefer to be doing it. When you see that, all you really have to do is mimic it, mirror it, act it out as best as you can on all levels of your life.
That's what Charlie Rocket tells me.
Visualize. It's exactly, dude. Visualize and manifest. Manifestation comes with action. You don't just sit back passively waiting for it to come to you. You visualize it, you attract it. How do you attract it? Love it with your heart, and then start doing the things with your body that cause that thing to happen. It's kind of like a chain. You'll find yourself in situations a lot closer to what you're visualizing than what you're not. But we've said this plenty of times, dude.
I think
all you have to do is...
I think Bashar or Daryl is listening to Neon Popsicle, taking our information and selling it to the public, turning a profit on our intellectual property.
Nah, man. This information's everywhere. It's just nobody knows. It's not everywhere in the point where it's like public, like on the surface, but it's available to everyone if they want to look. But it takes a while to start getting an understanding, a way to kind of package this information and say it, even in the way we do. You kind of have to have a little bit of an understanding to be able to simplify it enough to break it down, to say it in a manner. Otherwise, you just tell people, just look it up. You know what I mean? We don't have to. We do it together. We all look it up together. Things we don't know, we all learn together. But
is be like that person in your mind's eye. Do things the way he or she would do it.
Right.
And then when you start...
But he has to channel Bashar to say this?
Yeah.
Doing things the way he or she would do it, you will change your vibration to the vibration.
Okay.
Why is Bashar
I think we are talking metaphorically, and we'll just do the exercise in your mind.
Who do you think did 9/11?
I was transitioning.
Oh, shut the fuck up, Whitney.
Female comedians, am I right? Who do you think did 9/11?
And then
only Pete Davidson can make jokes about 9/11.
Yeah.
An angelic energy.
Yeah, because did you hear his dad died in 9/11?
If you didn't know.
If you weren't aware.
We can euphemistically say, now of course this is in a sense a symbol, but we can euphemistically say that they are the next step down from all that is. The first split off from all that is.
Angels? Yeah, we know. The orbs. We've talked about that, dude. God being workers of God. Parts of creation that carry out his will. So Zoroaster had 7 of them, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this stuff talks. Come on, guys. Like, all of this knowledge is it's just a little buried, you know? And this will just digs it out and packages it as if he's an alien. It's crazy. It's crazy. But whatever.
It's so funny.
Unfair. But, you know?
Have you ever seen the show Full Metal Alchemist? Anime?
I've seen a few episodes. Yeah, I have seen a few episodes. Yes, absolutely. I have not watched the show, though.
It's one of my favorites.
In totality. Ah, really?
Yeah, honestly, one of my favorites. It's up there. Story is good. Fucking so much like alchemical symbolism and shit. And
Are you gonna step into the neon cabin right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'm sure I could pick out more if I watch it again. Now knowing all the neon information that I know, I watched it in like the end of high school. So if I watch it now after my neon knowledge, I'm sure I can pick up on some symbolism and shit.
That's it. You would pick up on a lot of symbolism. You'd see a lot more symbols and understand their meaning. Esotericism, yeah, sure.
An esoteric
Yeah,
symbolism
occult.
within anime. Occult.
Esoteric and occult. I guess they can go hand in hand.
Yeah. Well,
That's great though. Alchemy is definitely one of those things that I think is fascinating and mostly misinterpreted in the mainstream
right. What I used to think it was is like,
on purpose by both parties.
the Jews in Israel and Palestine. I mean, the
No.
Democrats and Republicans.
No.
Oh,
The alchemists and those in power.
wow. Is it a battle between the alchemists and those in power, or are the ones in power alchemists,
No.
or are none of those
The ones
true?
in power. The ones in power essentially co-opted alchemy and made it their own.
Hmm.
And I can go into that later
does
on
co-opted
in this
mean?
episode. Co-opt would mean to essentially take over, to commandeer,
Hmm.
to make yours, to completely replace what was with what you want it to be.
Ah.
Almost change the narrative of. Let me get a direct definition so I'm not just spitting. I love definitions on this show.
The first thing I think of when thinking of alchemy is the popular turning lead to gold.
Appoint to a membership of a committee or by other body by invitation of the existing members. Appoint to membership of a committee or other body by invitation. So basically to be adopted by that scene. But I also divert to or use in a role different from the usual or original one. That's what I'm looking for. That's the definition. Divert to or use in a role different from the original
Oh wow.
or usual. Yeah, so that to take over the message and make it your own, to change the narrative completely.
Yeah. That's what co-opted
So,
means.
very interesting. Yeah.
The Nazis co-opted
The
the
swastika.
right?
Yeah.
They took it over and made mean something completely different.
If you're ever going to get freaking on the algorithm for YouTube to share us, you cannot say those two words.
Wow,
Jason.
you think so? Is that true? YouTube, send me an email if that's true. Let us know.
I'm very, very.
Wow. Well, next time we should have a buzzer. Next time I'm about to say the S word and the you can't say it.
I don't know. I think.
What's wrong with saying
I think
Nazi?
some. But you can't. I want to. That we're not. Who cares? We're gonna find our people. They're gonna find us. They're gonna share us with their friends, just as they've been doing. And we got 19 subscribers now.
What?
You guys, one by one, one by one, are adding up. Okay.
19 subscribers. Sorry.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So we see you guys. Keep sharing the show. Let us know. You find us randomly on YouTube. Hit that follow button. Hit that subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think. We'd love to have you in the chat. And actually would love to have you more in Discord. So let us know. We're not charging for that.
Let us know what you think. Are we like friends of yours? Do you think that we're smart? Are we idiots? Are we kind of retarded? Let us know. Tell us. I know you guys don't.
Above.
I know you guys don't think we're retarded. We have some nuggets of truth here that they expand across multiple universes, franchises, and this book series into like Bibles, religions, the government, deep state.
All right, Alex Jones. Alchemy is very interesting, though. Let me jump back to alchemy. All right. Reason being, alchemy is known as when you say alchemy, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Transforming lead into gold.
That's right. The Philosopher's Stone.
Or that was
right?
my second
Also,
thought. Yes.
Yes, those two things come to mind. It's this search, this
Blood pact ritual.
almost thirst for knowledge and understanding of the universe and its elements to combine these things and transmutate one thing and make it another. Like I said, combining
Like
things
magic.
based on like magic, like potions, elixirs,
Crazy.
things like that. Now, alchemy has some very interesting roots. Okay, it's not really like its own system of thought that was created, known as alchemy. Okay, these alchemists didn't call themselves alchemists. They didn't refer to themselves as that. They refer to themselves more as like philosophers.
Oh, okay.
And by the time the term alchemist was coined, the work was already being done. It was already a thing that was happening that they almost needed a term for. So these guys didn't coin the term for themselves, you know?
Yeah.
And it dates way back. They take thought from ancient Egypt, Greek gods, and even things like Zoroastrianism,
Whoa.
believe it or not, which is odd because we just covered that the last
Callback.
episode.
Wow.
So
something told you to want to
very
talk about
interesting.
alchemy after the last episode.
Right?
Something told you. And I feel like we'll figure out
Yeah,
what
like,
that is.
I mean, there was. I was like, let's do alchemy. Let's talk about alchemy next episode. So something and when I saw that, my mind was blown. Okay, but I had a really good. I have some good information that we can go into regarding alchemy, and we could start. We'll have questions, I'm sure, as we go through.
Oh, yeah.
And then maybe I asked these questions already, or maybe I can ask questions as we go. But super interesting, very knowledgeable stuff. You can make that the main screen. You can put us on the bottom or in the corner, full screen it, hide members, whatever you want to do. But just make that bigger so they can read. Okay, so as we can see, I started asking for some rundowns of some sources that I can learn about alchemy. But it opened up doors just by explaining some of the sources to go watch. And I just went from there. I started asking questions based on what it was telling me. And we had some pretty good conversation. So it says here that the secret of alchemy, the secret magic of alchemy, which is a particular documentary on the History Channel, explores the origins and development of alchemy. It covers how alchemists aim to transform base metals into gold and their quest for the Philosopher's Stone. Okay. Also talks about their contributions to modern science, which ends up leading to some of the modern medicines that we have actually came from alchemists and alchemy.
Wow.
Okay. Now, knowing what I know, and I kind of think we talked about it just in the beginning of the episode, I've heard that alchemy was more of the alchemists, as we know them, was more of an initiated class of philosophers who practiced achieving essentially Kundalini or Christ consciousness, the unlocking of self sovereignty through the melding of elements or stones or metals, which is essentially your chakras, to create a higher vibration metal.
Interesting.
From lead, low
Now,
vibration, to gold, high
Is that
vibration.
because of like the as above so below aspect? Like because like why do they think they can do that stuff just by melding metals?
Yes, you nailed it. That is a great question. So from my understanding, because of what you just said, as above, so below. Because they believed in that fundamental theory that we are just a reflection of the cosmos, since we as humanity, as spirit, as soul, can transmutate ourselves from low vibration to high vibration, you must be able to do this with physical reality as well.
Right.
So you've got, if we can do this with our spirit and our soul is just a reflection of the cosmos itself. We must be able to do this with metals and with plants and create things from the essence of these plants and metals to create new things that never existed before. By combining these metals, elements of ourselves, it's a reflection of the outside world. So they're doing essentially spiritual and physical work at the same time. They're doing these experiments through alchemical processes, mixing particular metals and particular plants because of the spiritual
That's so
things
funny,
they
yeah.
follow. It's so they played both realms. It's not that alchemy closed the doors and wasn't actually creating new medicines and not metals per se. They didn't create new metals, but they created mostly medicines and elixirs and things like that through alchemical processes by mixing certain plants that represented those metals.
Okay. Yeah.
So they played both sides of the whole thing on purpose.
That's I kind of think that sometimes, like, is like I'll see flowers, maybe not really, but like take an example, flowers, and this purple flower here. The fact that purple is a vibration of whatever, and then you can like look in what the like the spiritual meaning of the color purple is. You find out what that is. If you need that spiritual purpose, you grab that flower. Or some shit
and they
like that.
and we'll get into that, and it'll answer exactly what you're knowing. We'll clear up some of this dust that you're piling on right now, because these are good.
Yeah.
This is exactly where you should be. So I started to question and get curious because it was talking about the fact that it emphasizes how alchemy was more, or alchemists aim to transform base metals into gold. Great. But I asked, wasn't alchemy more of a spiritual pursuit, turning the soul from lead to gold, a low vibration metal to a high vibration metal, not necessarily physical metals from lead to gold? And that's when the doors started opening up.
He says, absolutely. Now I can let you know the real information.
Yep.
Damn.
And the more I ask, the more it opens. The more precise I got with what I know about it, the more it opened. And now I don't know if AI is gaslighting me, which, by the way, that's how I think AI will kill us, is just gaslight us to death. But that's another episode. This here was saying, absolutely, you've hit it on the head. While alchemy is often associated with the physical transformation of base metals into gold, it also has a profound spiritual dimension. Many alchemists viewed their work as a metaphor for personal transformation and spiritual enlightenment. The process of turning lead into gold symbolized the transformation of the self from a state of ignorance or base desires to a higher state of wisdom, purity, equivalent to gold. The sun, gold.
Yeah.
Enlightenment is represented by the sun. It's all coming back. The spiritual aspect of alchemy is often referred to as the great work, which is also what Mark Passio calls his work.
How funny.
Or the magnum opus. It represents inner journey towards self-realization and enlightenment. Key words here I want you to pay attention to, because we're going to get into why the alchemists went so hard leaning into the physical aspect of this whole thing. They did it on purpose.
No.
They're not upset that it happened.
My ADHD brain wants to say... It said, what did it say? The magnum opus or something like that?
Opus. Yeah.
That reminds me of the Magus. Have you heard of the book The Magus? It's like...
Yeah, that's the Magus. Okay.
Isn't it like... It's like one of the oldest...
I feel like that's the Magi, though. Like the wizard, like the magic Magus.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't it
Gotta
like
look up this.
a Solomon thing, like a book by?
I was gonna use Grok too, but GPT was helping me a lot. So I'm gonna see what the etymology of mag is, because magus and magnus, it's got to mean something.
The magus refers to a Zoroastrian priest. The plural form magi.
Great or large.
Wow.
Mag. So this is like the great work.
Right,
The magus. Yes.
right.
You're right. Yes. So yeah, you're onto something there. Absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
So it's an inner journey. No, please, that's perfect. That's
I
good.
always
That's good
just
because we
need-
learned that too. And it's not random because it is relevant to what that means and how they came up with the word magnum opus. It's a great work of self.
if I ever cut you off,
That's what mag means.
it's just
yeah.
because I want to say it before I forget it. But we don't even have to go into it because I think one of us will
Such
remember
as-
it after I say it. I just have to get it out. It's
Such as
my disorder.
such is life. That's
Such is
basically
life.
that's every day for me. So again, I want to highlight it's an inner journey towards self-realization. In a sense, alchemy is both a physical and metaphysical pursuit. And then I said yes. However, I was talking to it, so the way it words my words is pretty funny here. I was like, yes, but from my understanding, there was no. Okay, so what did the famous quote unquote famous what do we call it? Alchemist. What did they do? Like, what if it was just spiritual teachings, wasn't it? There wasn't actually any physical manifestations or
Right.
transmutations is the word I was looking for. But they didn't do this to metals. Okay. The metals are in you.
Right.
But let's proceed here. Alchemists indeed operated on both spiritual and physical levels. Many alchemists sought to transform base metals into gold through a process they believed would purify the soul. And we'll get into why they did that. Okay? Why they're trying to do something that seems impossible. The physical aspect of alchemy was rooted in the belief that the material world and the spiritual world were interconnected. Famous alchemists, which this name Paracelsus is like the father of so much, so to speak, of like medicine through alchemy. He was a Swiss physician alchemist, emphasized the importance of both material and spiritual transformation. And the reason why these things, these medicines were considered alchemy is because they were made using alchemical properties, alchemical processes to make them. And some of these things helped people. So
Wow.
he saw alchemy as a way to understand the natural world and to heal the body and spirit. But not all alchemists were solely focused on spiritual healings. Some of them engaged in forms of experimental science. They liked to fuck around in the labs using alchemical principles. This is important. They weren't just messing around randomly in the lab, mad scientists. They followed principles of themselves spiritually and tried to see what would happen when using these same principles on particular elemental properties of things and plants. And it's interesting. Every plant is like plants are associated with metals, which are associated with planets.
Right.
And it's all the same. It's all together in alchemy.
How many planets are in the solar system?
There was 9,
Okay.
right? I'm pretty sure that's my elementary school brain telling me. I don't study it anymore, so I could be wrong now. I think Pluto's not a planet anymore. How many? Solar system planets, how many? 8.
Wow.
There's 8, not 9. Oh yeah,
Okay.
Pluto, which was considered the 9th. So yeah, there was 9.
Oh, okay.
There's 8 now.
Almost 7.
So I was right. I was right.
But
Fucking genius, bro.
but get this.
But genius.
Get this.
Okay.
Earth Hold on, let me make us a little bigger screen here. Earth is not a planet.
Correct, it's a plane.
So there are 7 planets.
Knock it off.
Got you guys.
Good one.
See that though?
Fucking good.
See
I
that?
like where you're going. I
Earth
like
is
where
not a
you're going.
planet.
I like where you're. But see, Pluto was a planet when this stuff was made. You know, because Pluto was a god, Greek god.
But
Yeah.
it's not. Not anymore.
It's not anymore
Truth
for a
comes
reason.
out.
Maybe that's right. So, what I'm finding interesting is the fact that they were both actually physical and spiritual. Okay. So I started asking, like, okay, because at this point I thought alchemy was solely spiritual. I kind of put aside the physical because turning lead to
yeah.
gold seems stupid. It's got to be symbolic. It's got to be an allegory of sorts.
Right.
And it was. And I kind of put aside that they did actually try and do experiments with physical things. Some of them ended up very helping current modern day medicine today. So I was asking, what kinds of things were they doing? Go ahead.
What is the spiritual meaning of the Philosopher's Stone? Like, what is... Because that's
Christ,
a very popular trope.
Enlightenment.
Enlightenment? Yeah, I think you're right, yeah. That is enlightenment, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Is it like a rebirth
eternal life?
almost? Eternal life. Huh.
Yeah. Nicholas Flamel.
Nicholas Flamel's real.
Yeah, I believe so. I think Nicholas Flamel is
He's not just a Harry
alchemist.
Potter character. He was a real immortal alchemist. Like Voldemort.
Nah, but he was.
That was his name in the movie.
And I'll ask that, and we can hit that back at the end.
Nicholas
So-
Flamel.
Yeah,
Oh my
Sorcerer's
God.
Stone.
Oh my god.
J.K. Rowling, bro, the symbolism she uses, dude.
Masonic.
The triangle and the circle with the line, like those are occult
Whoa.
symbols.
Wow.
Look at this right here. Look at this. Look at this. This is basically one of them almost.
Holy shit.
But let's so that was interesting. So I was asking, what kind of physical substance are they combining? What kind of things did they actually do that was physical? And excuse me.
Nice.
So I asked, what commonalities did they use between, like, how did they work? Combine spirituality and physical transformation. Like, what kinds of things were they doing in the physical world that they claimed healed and raised the vibrations of their souls? So I thought that they were saying the things they create in this earth or this whatever, it helps raise your vibration. But I had it wrong. They're doing experiments through the alchemical philosophy. Am I making sense when I say that?
Doing experience through the alchemical philosophy. I mean, that sounds like what we just been saying. Like, not. That still doesn't sound like they're physically doing it.
They are
Like
doing
physical metals.
They are doing it through their understanding of these metals. So because, say, certain plants represent certain planets, those planets represent certain metals, therefore they mix this plant with this plant. They're mixing those two metals
Yeah. Okay.
and coming up with an elixir or a medicine or a tonic.
That's cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And they were like, oh, this flower is yellow. This must
That's
represent
crazy,
kind of like
'cause
the
that's kinda
sun.
like-
And like you said, this flower's purple. Purple represents this. And
That's-
it looks like this shape. This represents Venus, which represents copper.
That's kind of how this podcast makes me think, like, all the time now. Kind of like an alchemist. I'm always like seeing shit like, the vibration of purple coming off of that flower. Like, some flowers are like so fucking bright purple. I'm just like, holy
Yeah.
shit! Like, there's something to that. That must be able to do something for you in some kind of way.
That's
Got alchemy
exactly
brain.
how they would think in ancient days, like esoteric societies. That's where they got their stuff. Gnosticism, Hermeticism, ancient Egypt. They got their references of what to think about certain things from all of them, put them together, and were able to decipher what things they wanted to mess with.
Nice.
So Basically was that starting. They gave me some examples of what things they would be creating through alchemy, and then I just started asking things about the medicine aspect of it. Um,
Does it ever bring up
and
the
let's
law
see.
of equivalent exchange? Is that a real thing?
I'm absolutely sure it doesn't bring it up. I didn't really
Okay.
go down that route as of the process of it. I more asked it of the philosophies of alchemy, like what is it and what do they believe in, like what is it, not the process of.
Right.
I'm
Have
sure it would
you?
if I started asking about the actual ritual of doing it.
Right. Like the only reason I ask is because if it did, then like what does that mean? Kind of like what does the philosopher stuff mean? What does the law of equivalent exchange mean? I only say that because I'm a
I
fucking
mean,
nerd
I'm pretty
and they say that on Full Metal Alchemist all the time. The law of
I'm
equivalent
pretty sure the
exchange.
law of equivalent exchange is like you can't mix. You got to have one thing of the light and one thing of the dark, because there's dark vibration, low vibration, high vibration things. This represents light, or this represents fire, this
Aha,
represents water.
interesting.
You've
Yeah.
got to find two things that balance out in order to mix them, or it's going to be too heavy one way or the other.
Nice. I like that.
That's all what I would imagine. That's exactly what I would imagine.
I
We'll
think
look
yeah.
into the law.
I think you got it.
Can you elaborate the law? I know we'll look into this later. We're not going to do it right now, but because as I go down, we'll have more and more to talk about.
Here we go, people. The alchemy rabbit hole here on Neon Popsicle.
So I'm asking it in an alchemical sense. So it'll give me that later. So I started asking about some things it created. It gave me examples of the things that they would create through alchemy. Um, but check this out. God, I really went into it, dude.
Nice.
So many alchemists use their work as a form of meditation, focusing on the symbolic meanings behind their experiments. This meditative approach helped them cultivate inner transformation, aligning their spiritual aspirations with their physical practices. So when I say like you understood, they're doing these experiments through alchemical principles. They're aligning their spiritual aspirations with their physical practices. The law of
Yeah.
equivalent exchange
Okay.
is the same thing I'm imagining as equal and opposite reactions.
Right.
Overall, alchemy was a holistic practice that integrated physical experimentation with spiritual growth, aiming for both material and spiritual enlightenment. So I said, well, what physical substances were they combining to try to transmutate lead to gold? And by working with what physical substance would they claim purified their souls?
Right.
What symbols did the alchemists derive importance from? How did they come across or come to the symbols that they use? Because typically these things they're not creating their own symbols. They're finding them and choosing to use them and saying these represent what we're doing,
Yeah, that's interesting.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it started asking, these are the metals that they would use to transmit lead to gold: lead and mercury, sulfur, salt, vitriol, which would mean to purify certain metals. It's antimony, arsenic, cinnabar, gold dust, and the philosopher's stone, which is hypothetical, which is a legendary alchemical substance believed to perfect or transmute matter, never physically found, but central to the practice.
So it's like
It's
the power
on
of
purpose.
manifestation. It's like the power of. It is enlightenment.
Anything you want, anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
This stone gives you that.
How awesome.
Transmute anything into anything. The sorcerer's stone.
That's what they're
You
after.
could probably transmute a dead person into an alive person, in that sense.
There
When it comes to
is.
revitalization. Anything.
Yep. Whatever
So
you
they
want.
believed matter had a spiritual essence, and by purifying substances, they were also purifying the soul. So by working on these things, they're working on themselves, mirroring the stages of inner transformation. So the lab became a metaphor for the soul's refinement. So they'd be in physical labs doing experiments on things as well as themselves
How
and
funny.
all this.
What
and they were-
nuts. How nutty. They seem nutty almost. They can go crazy
Yes,
living
exactly.
like that. How fun. The Mad
Exactly,
Alchemist.
and that's why they're
Wow.
exactly.
How
Enter
wild.
stage left, the Mad Alchemist. That's
Oh,
why they're
shit.
perceived that way.
No.
They are madmen.
I'm a Mad Alchemist.
I as well.
We've become Mad Alchemists, bro. What are we gonna do? The universe doesn't take kindly to Mad Alchemists.
We're
We
gonna
gotta
transmute,
transmutate.
baby.
We gotta get our hands
Exactly.
on that
We're gonna-
Philosopher's Stone. At all costs.
I love why the Philosopher's Stone idea even exists. And I'll get into that. We'll get into that here.
How cool, right?
But it's important why they made it so impossible. I want you to keep that in mind. It's not on accident. So I asked about the symbols, where they got their symbols. They got their symbols from, like I was mentioning before, a collection of even then, older knowledge from astrology, Hermeticism, Christian mysticism, and Kabbalah, nature observations, like you're mentioning, this flower's purple as fuck.
Aha.
What does this mean? What does purple mean to the, what did it mean to them? What did it mean to our forefathers? Dreams and visions. They
This
often
flower is
recorded
shaped like
dreams
a
and
pulley.
treated look at this. I didn't even read this. Alchemists often recorded dreams and treated them as a message or blueprints for symbols.
Wow, there you go.
And I'm always like, don't ignore your dreams, and Joseph and the King of Dreams.
There it is.
So they mixed all these traditions, texts from Arabic, Greek, Egyptian, personal gnosis or knowledge that they gained through experience and wisdom. And that's what gnosis means. An allegorical interpretation of chemical processes. Allegorical interpretation of chemical processes. Seeing how it works here on the outside must mean if I combine these things on the inside, I will come up with a result as well. Maybe a healing potion for one's
Right.
soul. Mixing these aspects of oneself together. Harmony.
Harmonious.
So, now, it starts asking me questions. I never really answer them, but in one of these questions lies a very important aspect, but we'll get into that later. So where did they get the idea of the Philosopher's Stone from? I think this is where it comes from. So here we go. The idea of the Philosopher's Stone is a syncretic, like a kind of the same thing as like a synchronicity of blend of myth, early science, and mystical philosophy, not traceable to one single origin, but rather emerging from multiple ancient traditions. So it most likely came from a combination of Egyptian, 3rd century Egyptian roots, Hermeticism,
Nice.
Hermes Trismegistus, which is actually a
Hell
mythical
yeah.
fusion of
Shout out.
the god Thoth and Greek Hermes, which is why they say they're the same person. It's actually like a combined, like a fusion of them.
Mm-hmm.
He was said to possess secret knowledge of transmutation and spiritual ascent. The idea of a perfecting agent hidden in nature, something that could
Hermes-
transform the mundane into the divine.
Hermes Mercurius Thoth. I forget what culture called him that, but that was his name. They changed his name
Huh.
to Hermes Mercurius Hermes Mercurius Thoth.
Mercurius.
Yeah,
Like from Mercury.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
Greek philosophy. Plato hinted at the idea of ideal forms. So they were talking about this shit back then. Ancient Greek philosophy. They didn't call them alchemists then.
Right.
It wasn't as clear what they were doing. The philosophical framework influenced alchemists to believe base metals, imperfect, could be transformed to gold, the perfect metal.
The perfect metal.
Aristotle. And now this is interesting too. We can ask this question here together if you want. But Aristotle
Pokeball.
contributed to the idea.
The Pokeball transmutates the Pokemon into light and then encapsulates it within.
And I believe there's alchemical symbols that look like a Pokeball.
The alchemical symbol for gold is a Pokeball.
Is it? There it is, baby.
You get the Pokeball with the ball, it transmutes the soul into light.
It
Through
does.
alchemy. There's a lot of alchemical symbolism. Okay, maybe not. Okay, but sorta.
I was
what
more
are those
looking
symbols?
for.
Right?
I was more looking for this
Huh. Salt.
salt.
Gold is what? The circle with the circle in it?
Gold. Oh, this is here. Alchemical symbols for gold.
The hell,
There was
guys?
another one we saw though. Yeah, this isn't quite. These are different. These are cool though.
Very
Here's
nice,
another one
very
for
cool.
salt though.
Huh.
So
Wow.
there's probably another one for gold somewhere. But let's see. Pokeball looks like an alchemical symbol.
There we go.
It'll pop up. Look at the alchemy signs on the Pokemon themselves.
Oh, hell yeah. Those are the starters of the most alchemical
Poke
generation.
series.
Yeah, generation.
Really? It's
Yeah,
the most alchemical generation?
for sure. That cat has the symbol for sulfur.
Yep.
This one has a symbol for whatever. That one has a symbol for whatever. I forget what those three combinations. They like make something in alchemy, and that like had to do with something with like the legendary
Earth,
or
fire,
whatever Pokemon.
and water. But check this out. Check this out. We'll probably get into it right here. So, Aristotle contributed the idea of the four elements: earth, water, air, and fire, and a fifth, which is quintessence, or the ether, the fucking meta of what things
Internet?
are, which would later become associated with the stone, which I believe
Wow.
Freemasons, stone, alchemy, knowledge, occult.
Here it
Aristotle,
is.
fifth element, stone, Mason. I'm fit.
You had a brain blast.
I don't know. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's seventh letter, G, 7 planets, 7
Right.
metals. There's things here. Not saying stone, but besides. Let's continue.
7.
Islamic alchemy. Okay, so there's an alchemist like Jabir. Jabir ibn Hayyan. He wrote extensively about a hidden substance that can catalyze perfection in all matter. He used coded language to protect esoteric
Perfection.
secrets, describing something akin to the Philosopher's Stone as the elixir that could transmutate metals and heal the body.
Wow.
Okay, so a couple different places. So the stone wasn't invented. It was discovered in the metaphorical space between early chemistry, mysticism, and inner transformation. And it became the stand-in for the ultimate goal, to align the soul with divine truth by refining both the material and spiritual self. Now check this out. This is why I kept saying it's not on purpose that they made something like the Philosopher's Stone their goal. Do you think the Philosopher's Stone was a literal goal, or was it deliberately impossible to keep seekers on the path?
Wow.
That's what I think.
The real treasure was the friends we made along the way.
The treasure was the process of seeking the truth.
Wow.
The joy that is, you never stop. If you aim for the impossible, you'll never stop searching, right?
That's the
Like,
One Piece.
Their goal is to create this almost impossible thing, or achieve almost an impossible task of lead to gold, or creating something like the Philosopher's Stone. Impossible things to keep them on the path and never stop seeking.
Never
Because
give
what
up.
if you're one thing away? What if you're one step away from ultimate enlightenment or ultimate
I
success
always
in
feel like I'm
science?
one step away from ultimate enlightenment.
We are, brother.
Ugh, what do I have to do? Just like push
It's
really hard?
always no, dude. The more comfortable you are with the fact that it's always one step away, the more comfortable with the fact you'll be with being one step away.
I don't want to forever be one step away.
It's always one step away. And that's the beauty of it. It's always and only one step away.
Wow.
You know, fucking poetic, bro.
I'm
But-
alchemically enlightened.
We are. This is the juice, bro. This is the juice of alchemy. This is why alchemy it's so interesting, you know. They did a lot of physical stuff, but again, I want to hammer in, it's not on accident that they made it physical and got that message out. Because
Right.
going back to this guy, Jabir Hayyan, who purposely coded language to protect esoteric secrets, describing something akin to the Philosopher's Stone. He coded the language to protect esoteric secrets.
Motherfucker.
This is what I believe most alchemists did. They coded it, and why? This goes back to why. Why did they
So-
sweep Zoroastrianism under the rug?
Maybe so it wouldn't be destroyed. Did they
Bingo.
code it so it wouldn't be destroyed?
Bingo.
Wow.
And I started asking, well, wait a minute. Okay, because I had other questions in between. Which then I learned the Christians started adopting alchemical symbols and actually co-opted it and made it. They made Philosopher's Stone equate to Christ consciousness because alchemy was so getting ground. They had to
Wow.
Christianize. They Christianized alchemy for themselves to, again, control the masses.
Because there is truth to alchemy. So they couldn't have the masses find alchemy and be like, this isn't religious.
Because alchemy doesn't mention God.
Right. So
Self-enlightenment without
have to
God,
make it-
impossible.
you gotta make
must
it to
be
where
through the power of God.
you have to make it to where if someone finds alchemy, then you can like preach them out of it. Or you can preach them into like, it's not alchemy, this is actually God, because that just means this. That's this for us. That's not alchemy. Oh,
Yes.
young child, you are naive and ignorant.
Or no, and it's not even like that's not alchemy because they didn't disown or disavow alchemy. They were just saying, oh, okay, alchemy is a way to God. It's through God. It's a God thing.
The Christians don't tell
They
you
made it
that.
about God. No, they don't tell you that.
Oh, right. Like, the way to God is enlightenment, quote unquote,
Well,
through the alchemist's
God,
eyes.
God is a way, like God is enlightenment. Like
Right.
the Philosopher's Stone is Christ consciousness.
Yeah.
They're talking about creating Christ consciousness, guys. That's what alchemy's doing.
Through Christ consciousness, you can achieve everything.
Yes.
That's why Christ
But
performs miracles.
alchemy,
That's why Christ performs
Yes.
miracles. He is the Philosopher's Stone. He can turn he can turn water to wine. He's Christ
Yeah.
conscious. Through
He
that
is.
Philosopher's Stone and miracles, he can do anything.
through alignment of oneself. Sure, absolutely.
That's why he can
One
do
can
miracles.
move mountains.
Wow.
So I started asking because Hermeticism, because, okay, so this is the question. I was like, okay, how the hell did they get these value systems for these things like plants and animals? How do they refer to a lion meaning the sun and all this stuff? Where the fuck did they
Yeah.
even come from? Or is this all conjecture? And it's like, well, it's not random. They selected them based on systems built from myth, intuition, and selective observation. So certain plants contained planetary energies. So for example,
Nice.
rosemary, ruled by the sun.
Planetary. How
So
funny.
rosemary, yeah, that is funny.
That's crazy. It's word
rosemary-
magic. It means something, dude.
It always does.
Planetary. That's wild.
Plan, the word plan means, I think, deceive, but that is in a different aspect or term.
It's just our
But
alchemist brain
plant-
thinking.
Planetary. Plant is different. But let's see. So, for example, rosemary, which is ruled by the sun, would be associated with gold. You see how that works?
Wow. Okay.
So if they need to mix an aspect of gold, they'll use rosemary. Nettle, which is like a thorny weed, is aligned with iron because it's aggressive and it's hard. It's got thorns. They associate it with Mars,
Is that to
and
say
Mars
that
is the iron.
rosemary is the perfect plant?
It's just an aspect of the sun.
Okay. This gold
like
is a
the
perfect
sun-
metal,
Yes.
and it links. It's
Yes.
connected to the
But the sun represents purification.
Okay, so maybe
To
perhaps
purify.
if you would like to purify something,
Yes.
then you include rosemary.
Yes.
And
Precisely.
one dash of rosemary into my purification
haven't-
potion.
Which is funny you say, because rosemary actually does have, I believe, antimicrobial properties.
You know it does, baby. It ain't an accident either. The alchemists knew it.
Right. And that's why they started using it in science. So isn't that interesting though?
And that's
they knew
why
it
they
then
use it in
by
medicine?
that type of conjecture. Yeah.
Whoa.
Same with nettles. They help stinging nettle. I think it's called.
the medical thing.
Hold
is
on,
like
I think
the nettles.
stinging
Needles?
nettle, I think it's called, is good for allergies. So they use that still
Nice.
today. You know.
This.
So that's how. Go ahead.
The hospital, or the medical little symbol with the staff and the snakes.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a Hermes thing?
Yeah, that's his staff.
And he's like an alchemical symbol. Apparently, what does he have to do with alchemy?
He gave them. Here, it's up here.
That's why they still use that symbol today, like as if.
So they got a lot of their information as far as
practices are real.
let's see, their spiritual traditions, their knowledge, what Thoth meant, like what did Thoth mean to the alchemists? Is that a good question? Let me see. Thoth. So where did they get the idea of the Philosopher's Stone? Was said to possess secret knowledge of transmutation and spiritual ascent. So he represented ascension. The fact that it's
Ascension.
possible to transmutate your soul to a higher level of consciousness is what they would. Hermes Trismegistus introduced in the Corpus Hermeticism or Hermeticum,
I just think it's
which
cool
is
that
what the
they have
ancient
that,
Egyptians believed in.
that symbolism still. It's crazy. And why would they still use
Yeah.
that alchemical symbolism? It's probably true. They probably still use shit like rosemary shit in our like vaccines because it has purifying things because of the planets, because of the sun.
Rosemary as an antimicrobial. Let me see. Has strong antimicrobial properties. See, I'm not talking shit, guys. Okay? I might
Right
just say
here.
things on a whim, but I'm not trying to tap my own dick here or anything, but I'm tapped in, okay? I collect information.
Hey,
and
hey.
I know.
If you tap it
I
more than
put it
once,
in-
you're
I
playing
think-
with it.
Thank you. It's important. Okay, so like I said, rosemary has strong antimicrobial. I said specifically the word antimicrobial. Get the fuck out of here. I didn't say it's just good for your health. Okay, I know what I'm talking about. Neon Popsicle knows what we're talking about. Yeah, we're two dudes who are silly, but you got to give us credit where credit's due. We know what we're saying. All right, I'm not just here talking shit. If I don't know, I look it up. I learn. I love to learn.
Two bald brothers.
Anyway,
spitting
evidence
facts.
by its ability to inhibit various bacteria and fungi. So they would use that in medicine. It represents the sun. It purifies. Let's use it. Boom. Isn't that cool?
Amazing.
Isn't that fucking cool?
And they
So-
found working medicines like that.
So do you have any questions here before we go on?
No,
So
I'm
I don't get
basically
too ahead of
I'm
anybody or
ADHD.
anything. And
I'm ADD jumping in whenever I have one.
okay.
Thanks for letting me do that.
I don't
'cause
wanna- I
otherwise-
I just don't want to make it seem like I'm speaking over you. So
I mean, that's why I feel
I don't-
okay to jump in and kind of interrupt if I ever have a question or ever want to say something.
good.
You're
Okay.
good. I like listening and
Okay.
having the reaction and guiding the conversation with questions and shit.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Especially when you have all
Okay.
this information.
Got it all, baby. I've got it all. So, not to skip over real quick, we were talking about not Emil, but Jabir Ibn Hayyan, coded language, protect esoteric.
Wow.
So we came to the conclusion that yes, They did that on purpose. So
protect it.
alchemical texts like so the medieval European alchemy. There's also that was going on too in the world. It wasn't just Egypt. Christian elements spiritualized the idea. The stone became a symbol for Christ consciousness, resurrection, or the perfection of the soul.
Right.
For them, finding the stone was both an external and internal quest. Alchemical texts like the Rosarium Philosophorum used a deeply symbolic and mystical language to describe the stone as a culmination of the magnum opus. The stone is a culmination of the great work. Everything that you think, all the great work is the Philosopher's Stone.
I don't know what book I read that had this. I didn't read it. I listened to it, but it was talking about like potions, and I'm sure they sound very alchemical in nature. They were like magic witch, like brew potions, in like an old fucking ancient text, and it was like in order to ease, say, restless legs at night. Add one or burn one foot of a hair, for the feet of hares are very speedy in nature, and blah blah blah, and it will calm the like. But it was crazy. I was just driving, listening to this whole fucking like book of potions, some ancient book of potions. Mix the tail of a fox in with your potion to give more luck. Because foxes are sly and have more, like, it's so fucking crazy.
Yes.
And so, like, part of me wants to believe some of that's true. I don't know. Maybe it's bullshit. But it sounds so fun to think it's real.
And that is how the alchemists would work.
It's beautiful.
Just like what you're saying.
It sounds, the book I'm thinking of sounded like the magnum opus.
It could have been that, not the magnum opus, but the, because the magnum opus, I don't know if that's like a written body of work. I think.
Okay.
There was the book. They said it here though. Oh, magnum opus. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it just means something. I don't think it means what you're thinking. There's a book here, though. That's where they mentioned one. Magus. You said something about Magus. It was probably that one.
Right. The Magus. A complete system of occult philosophy.
Aha.
Okay. There's other books called that too, which is annoying.
No, it's gonna be hard to find right now. Don't even worry about it now.
Fuck.
Because unless you're gonna play it, unless you want to like play something from it,
it'll have to be next time, guys. Sorry we baited you for this long.
I don't think we baited. I don't think we covered enough to bait anybody. So let me see. So yes, we got to the point. Philosopher's Stone and turning lead to gold is probably something they knew was physically impossible, but it kept them spiritually driven. All right. And we figured out they equated planets and plants to metals based on the way and metals and the plants. They all kind of, planet means metal. This plant refers to this planet. This planet means this metal. So this plant equals this metal. Blah, blah, blah. And we kind of went over that. We covered rosemary. Okay.
Yeah.
And how it actually has good benefits. And they came to that fact by using their conjecture of sun, purification, rosemary equal good. Okay. Yeah. So, and then we just learned that Christians started to Christianize.
That's right.
Alchemy. All right.
Bastards.
And what were the symbols considered to be Christian at the time? So I asked, how or what information did they use to equate plants to metals? And were the symbols they used referred to as Christian symbols at the time? because it said that it used these symbols here. Like these Christian alchemists spiritualized the idea. And I'm like, okay, well, were they known as Christian symbols when they were using them? Like, were they really Christian Christian alchemists?
Right.
This is what I was trying to get to the bottom of. Like,
Okay.
how do you know they're like? What do you mean by Christian?
Right. What does that mean?
And then they went into the plant thing. So here's some ideas. So not exactly, but they were often Christianized. Original alchemical symbols like the Ouroboros and the triangle and the cross came from pagan, Egyptian, and Hermetic sources. As alchemy entered Europe, monks and Christian mystics overlaid Christian theology onto the practice. So the philosopher's stone became a Christ symbol, and the death and rebirth of materials paralleled the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ. Symbols like the cross, dove, or lamb, already part of Christian symbology, became more prevalent in later alchemical illustrations. So they weren't originally Christian, but were retrofit into Christian frameworks. To avoid heresy, that's why they hid things or make them more socially acceptable. To avoid heresy, to avoid it being destroyed. If you know, you know. They created a whole society and information branch of if you know, you know. So, and I said, how did they come up with animals linked to metals? Well, lion equals sulfur because of its ferocity and combustibility, and its golden mane, so it's used to purify. The dragon or serpent molts, it sheds its skin, so it's transformative, just like Mercury, because it's dual-natured. The peacock is a stage in the magnum opus when all colors appear, associated with complexity and beauty. So they might, when they're trying to say they make a beauty potion or something to make you smell beautiful, they'd probably use a peacock feather.
Yeah.
Or the beak of a peacock or something like that. The toad, eye of a toad. And which is interesting, I'm going to go into this in a second. The toad is lead, dark, the lowest vibration, right? And then you have stories like The Princess and the Toad. The toad is hella low vibration, gets kissed and becomes high vibration, like immediately into a prince. So the toad has been referenced as like low vibration for why?
Through love.
And like Final Fantasy VII, you turn into a toad, you lose all your powers. You become base, basically.
That means something.
They're poisonous. Yet seen as the beginning of the great work. So, yeah.
Gotta love toads.
Plus, they were also basing things on mythology. So dragons guarding gold, serpents gold, represent whatever. Mythology, observed traits, snakes shedding skin, transformation, qualities, the lion's strength. So that's how they came up with all this conjecture. It wasn't random. It was rooted in symbolic logic, esoteric tradition, and a view of the world where everything reflects everything else. As above, so below.
As above, so below. I love that. It means too much.
It means everything.
Every single time I open up like a new, what did this school of thought think? What did this school of thought think? They all think as above, so below.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I started asking. They got so much information from Hermeticism. It kept being brought up throughout this whole thing. Hermeticism. I'm like, okay, shit, where does this come from? And are you sure they weren't just hiding occult information about enlightenment of the soul and they were just veiling it under the guise of working with real metals? And this enters in the whole chat of, if you know, you know. They did that on purpose. They leaned in to that to hide what they were doing from the kings and from the religious powers at the time, or else if they found out what they were doing and preaching and saying and initiating people into, they would off them.
Wow.
At least then I asked the question, were alchemists just hiding esoteric soul work under the guise of metal work? Yes, at least the serious ones. The deeper you go into historical alchemical texts, especially from Arab, Renaissance, and Christian mystic traditions, the clearer it becomes. The laboratory work was a metaphor. The transmutation of lead into gold equals the transmutation of the base human into a spiritually awakened being. The Philosopher's Stone equals the perfected soul, the divine
Whoa.
consciousness.
Damn, once your soul's perfect, it's all yours, baby.
And the stages of the great work are break down into 3: the blackening, the whitening, and the reddening. The ego death, the purification, and the rebirth.
What? The reddening.
What color is the phoenix, brother?
It's red, man. That's a
And
red
what's its
bird.
element?
Fire.
It's purifying the soul and being reborn from its ashes. The phoenix
Whoa.
itself is an alchemical symbol. The phoenix is the Ouroboros,
Yeah.
but the sky version. And this is the ground version.
Whoa. As above, so below.
Crazy, crazy. So they're talking about spiritual aspects of the soul when they're talking about their philosophies and working with particular metals, but it's not like they're not actually trying to do it also.
How funny.
You see?
Because they think it's got to
Yeah.
be possible some way. If you can perfect the soul,
Yes.
you can perfect this.
Yep.
How wild. As above, so below,
Yep,
motherfucker.
yep,
I'll
yep.
figure it out.
And it says here, the veil of chemistry served 2 purposes, just like we were talking about earlier. Protection from religious persecution, because they didn't want to be branded as heretical or occult, and initiatory secrecy.
Wow,
Only those
okay.
with the right eyes to see would grasp the real meaning. Many texts were written in allegorical riddles or symbolic imagery to filter unworthy readers, the uninitiated. That's why when you were reading that book back in the day you sent me, that you shared with me, it sounded like it was a mystical book, that maybe you shouldn't have been reading it, because you probably weren't. You weren't an initiate
Wow.
of that school, that school, what's the fucking secret society?
Uh-huh.
They exist, bro. They're real fucking things. And people wrote ancient texts, and this was the booklet to the initiates.
And it's so
It
funny.
didn't make sense to you.
It's so funny.
And it wasn't
that
supposed to.
these initiates had to go through, like, initiation trials. They have to go through years of practice in order to unlock the keys or the permission to get these books, to finally read them from, like, the higher ups, and finally unlock the true knowledge of what's at the core of their cult. And like, very few eyes, only the ones initiated into the cult at the highest level could read this book. But I can look it up on YouTube, and I can listen to an audiobook of it today. In this world.
Yes.
That's so crazy. Like, it was so, like, hidden. But if you really want to find it, you just look it up. They have, like, shitty audiobooks
there,
of, like,
dude.
all the ancient fucking texts.
YouTube does, yeah. And also, like we were talking, sacred texts. Sacred.text or whatever we were talking about.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff.
You want to?
The information is there.
Can you pull up sacred.text.com?
Sure.
Let's give our people a little views of this website. I want to go down a little trip down memory lane too.
Is it texts or text?
Texts, I think. The hell? Okay.
Sacred-text.com.
That's it. And then it has like a bunch of like alphabetical things on the left there, and then go all the way down to the bottom of the list on the left. Is it A B C D E F G L M N?
Yep, these are all the topics and shit. Mysteries, world religions, traditions, bibliography, of course, whatever. And then here, African, Age of Reason, Alchemy.
Oh, hell yeah. At the bottom of that list is Zoroastrianism. That's where I found it.
All right. And then, yeah, Atlantis, Australia, Bible, Islam, Icelandic, Tantra, Taoism, Tarot, Thelema, Theosophy, UFOs, Utopia, Zoroastrianism.
Women.
So
Women.
there's interesting stuff here. All of it's here. You guys can check it out if you guys are interested.
What do they have in alchemy?
This is where we get our stuff. Not really this, but I don't know. I opened a new tab.
Oh, hell yeah.
Let me go into, well, let's finish what we got here. Then we'll go into what it's got there.
Let's see, baby. ChatGPT
So
has
we're
the
finding out a lot of.
answers.
Well, I got the questions. I got
There
the
it is.
direction. GPT's nothing. GPT does nothing. It's me. This is the reflection of me.
All right, it's you, Steven.
It wouldn't pull up this information if it wasn't guided so specifically.
Right, for
It
now.
brings up information. I ask a question. It brings it to me. Well, I'm just saying right now, that's this information it's giving me. It didn't just give me the information. I had to ask for this particular information, and I had to dive deep and guide it into the actual like. So they were hiding it behind text. I didn't know that they hid it behind text to avoid persecution, but I saw what it said about this guy, and I asked a question specifically about that, and then it opens up more doors and more doors.
It knew.
Yes.
It knows everything.
So we can learn here. They're hiding it behind text on purpose. They're doing things impossible to try to keep them motivated. And it was hidden in a language of matter. The metals were masks. The real gold was always the soul. And it's also meant to filter unworthy readers. If somebody was only after gold or greed, they would miss the point entirely.
Wow. That's huge.
So alchemists came to the realization that they must be able to purify a solid metal simply because we have, as humans, the ability to purify our souls, I asked. And it says exactly. That is the essence of what alchemy at its highest level represents.
You were initiated. Congratulations. The Mad Alchemist.
Alchemists believed in a cosmic mirroring between the outer and inner worlds. As above, so below. As within, so without. If the soul, which is dense and base in its fallen or unconscious state, can be purified and raised towards the divine, then matter, which is also dense and base, must be capable of a similar ascent. Why not?
There is no reason why not.
So the physical process of purifying a metal, breaking it down, burning it, dissolving it, reconstituting it, was seen as a sacred ritual. It wasn't just chemistry. It was cosmic theater. They wanted to see what the world did when it interacted with itself.
Wow. The stars are you.
Through
You are the stars.
Yes.
You are the universe.
So it's not that.
Interesting.
And hear me out.
Wow. Okay.
It's
Okay.
not that they didn't believe that lead could turn to gold. If they didn't not believe that, and it's not like they weren't trying to do it. Because they truly believed that it's possible because the transmutation of the soul is possible.
Wow.
So it worked on each other, and that's why their quest never ended, because the search for truth never ends, right?
That's dangerous for a soul that's not
you're
ready.
searching for enlightenment. Correct.
You go mad.
Very, very true. It's not for everyone, dude.
Wow.
That's why you need to be initiated. Because this
Right.
train of thought, especially then, dude, was
Wow.
heretical. Are you insane? Like, you sound like you're practicing witchcraft, boy.
Yep.
Like, this is evil. Potions, earth mixing, divination. What are you doing?
Divination. The Devas.
So, I asked for some examples of coded language used by Jabir ibn Hayyan. What did he do? How did he say this? What kind of things was he saying in his writings that obscured the truth of what he's trying to say? So, he used things like numbers, codes, symbolic language. But here's a few examples. In one of his treatises or writings, he writes, "Take the white eagle and the red lion, join them in marriage in the bath of gentle warmth. From their union, the king will be born, clothed in gold."
Wow.
But you got to break it down now. So what does all this mean? What is he even talking about? Mixing up A red lion with a white eagle.
Right.
Okay, eagle. What metal? What does the metal represent? White eagle means mercury. The red lion means sulfur. So mixing mercury and sulfur, mixing them in an alchemical fusion with whatever principles you want, whatever causes them to be broken down and mixed. Like they used acid mainly. They had like sulfuric acids and shit that they used to break down metals and stuff. So this is how they kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
Bath of warmth, controlled heating. A bath of warmth is just like a petri dish, something that you're boiling. You see them always boiling shit in those beakers?
Yeah.
That's the bath of warmth
How funny.
that they're mixing the stuff in.
I swear, I gotta find that book because it used language like that. Makes one
And then the bath
foxtail
of
in a
warmth.
bath of warmth. Like,
Yes, in this bath of warmth, yes, it might be also manifested as this fire burning this beaker, but inside is a metaphor for an alchemical fire, that the fire that's burning for truth. Like it's
truth fire.
you understand
True
there's fire.
fire.
There's a process of fire inside
Wow.
that's happening.
True fire.
And then the king itself is the philosopher's stone or perfected matter or soul. So by mixing these things within yourself, you can find the philosopher's stone. So he gave a couple of the examples, numerology. I guess the ideal substance, the philosopher's stone, had the perfect numeric balance of 1 to 1 to 1 to 1.
Oh shit.
So there's your question that you were talking about. Equal exchange, right?
Oh, equivalent exchange. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It has to be equivalent. It has to be balanced. So there has to be some kind of equivalent exchange,
Whoa.
1 to 1 to 1 to 1. So this made his text math heavy and intentionally obscure, even to scholars. They still can't figure it out.
That's why cookies are so delicious. 1 cup of
And
sugar.
that is why cookies are so delicious.
1 egg. 1 cup of flour. There's just one of every ingredient. Cookies are magic.
Interesting. Cookies are the philosopher's stone.
They're mad. That's why they're so fucking good.
So yeah, all this stuff he didn't want just anybody to read it. He didn't want religious persecution, and they didn't want material corruption. He didn't want people who are just after gold or greed to use this information for bad. This information is powerful. You can use this information for gold, for riches, for Bashar.
Oh.
You see?
Man, circle back to Bashar.
I'm telling you, bro, that's material corruption. It seems all jolly and like he's helping people, but dude, come on. To give away responsibility of self in order to, it's bad. I don't understand. It's not right. So then he's saying Christian alchemists. We went into a little bit of Christian alchemists, and that's where I learned how Christians Christianized alchemy, how they were actually into it, but they didn't want man to have a hinkling of it without God being involved, because God is all. So let's make this about God. And they made essentially everything about God. All of the alchemical tenets they made about God. Religion, then that entered in people
Right.
starting to look into alchemical principles and seeing how they can fit them into God, Christianity.
Yeah.
And there's actually some biblical examples used for alchemical justification. In the book of Malachi, just to show you that they were talking about alchemical ideas in the Bible even, but they didn't refer to it as alchemy.
Right. I feel like it made it to where even people who practice alchemy, if alchemy was like such a popular way of thinking, you can almost like, if you believe in alchemy, you can also be a Christian, because
You can also be what?
you could convert to Christianity from being like an alchemist.
Yes.
If you believe like, oh, well, all this alchemy shit was actually just this. It's just like, because Christianity, or whatever the teaching was at the time, was
Yes.
alchemy, just like in a different light.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was they took it. Alchemy was popular in this part of the world. European Christian Western civilization, Christianity was.
It's a
But they
thing,
had
like,
to
it's for control.
take
dude.
it. Yes, exactly. Control the narrative. Control of the narrative. Just like they did with Zoroastrianism. Why don't they talk about them getting their tenets from that? Why not? Why not share? Oh, guys, there's this old ass tradition that we learn about that, you know what, this could possibly, he could have actually been talking about God. But no, they won't even talk about
No,
Zoroastrianism.
because they want you to think they know. They have the
Yes.
answers. That what they know is the truth.
Because the Pope is the only one who can speak to
Yeah.
God.
Exactly. That's fucked up.
Bastards.
Bastards.
Bastards. So here's a couple quotes. He is like a refiner's fire and like fuller's soap. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. So talking about gold or metals as aspects of self, seen as literal support for the refining of souls through fire, both spiritually and materially. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, talking about elemental properties is probably what they're talking about there. Surely there's a vein for the silver and a place for the gold where they refine it in your body.
Ah.
Iron is taken out of the earth and brass is molten out of the stone. Seen as proof that God embedded spiritual truth in material processes. So they talk about it, and it's because there's truth there. Yeah, they needed to almost commandeer the narrative. These are some popular. Isaac Newton
Yes, Isaac Newton is one of the
was an alchemist.
biggest alchemists. He was a
Yes.
Rosicrucian, like Freemason. Like he's one of the first people who decoded the Emerald Tablets of Thoth.
Ah,
Weird Isaac Newton Thoth connection. Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which
it shaped, like you're saying, that the emerald tablets, the everything that followed, like what we know now of it, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. Came from Isaac Newton.
he was the first, I believe, the first one to decode or like to decipher the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I swear,
Whoa,
I heard that.
that is nuts.
They don't
And all
tell
we
you that
give him
about
credit
him.
for, no.
Right. He had an apple fall on his head.
Holy
He
cow!
was deep. He's like Templar status, like Freemason shit. Like Isaac Newton is like probably spiritually connected through Bashar or some shit. Like honestly, he has some sort of truth. He's like a main character.
Well, he was
I
a
don't
truth
know.
seeker, man.
He's huge.
He was an alchemist.
An alchemist. Yes. They don't want you to know he was an alchemist. They want you to think. They want you to see he was a great physicist. I want to be a physicist. Science, science, science. They don't want you to know he was
Science
a fucking
took over Isaac
alchemist.
Newton. Yep.
If we had to look up to an alchemist, they don't want you looking up to an alchemist. They want you looking up to a scientist.
You'd be a fucking madman if you looked up to an
Satanic
alchemist.
scientists. But that's what the truth lies. That's just the mad alchemist coming out of me and talking, maybe. But that is where the truth lies. I would be one of those
That
people.
is where the truth is.
Back in the day, I think that was my past life. I possibly was an alchemist.
That's what I'm saying, dude. We don't
Past
get enough
life.
credit for being philosophers in today's time.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like it was cool as fuck to live in a box and drop truth bombs all day back then. Whoa, he's a philosopher. Holy shit. Kings would trade places with you to understand how is he getting so wise. But now you're just an asshole if you talk the way we talk.
Epicurus. He was a philosopher. But his style
Epicurus?
Epicurus. His style of philosophy was like, I don't give a fuck, bro. I'll be homeless. I'll have nothing. I'll be happy. Because what is fucking life? What are possessions? Like, fuck off. Leave me alone.
Epicurus.
Epicurus. There we go. Wait. That sounds...
Epicurus.
That's probably the guy.
But that is the guy. It's got to be, because Epicurus is cooking. But Epicurus philosophy, death is nothing to us, since when we are, death has not come, and when death has come, we are not. He doesn't give a shit. He's nihilist. He sounds like a nihilist. He sounds nihilistic.
Maybe, yeah. I can see... Whatever. I have a hard time grasping what nihilism means because I'm stupid, but...
You know what nihilism means?
Isn't it just like fuck everything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. Basically,
Nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
Why can't? Yeah, nothing matters.
But you said kings wanted to be philosophers, basically. That reminded me of the story of Epicurus. He met Alexander the Great, and there was a story that one time it's like an ancient myth. I don't know when it started. Back in high school? No, I don't know. Ancient times. Alexander the Great came to town, and when Alexander the Great approached Epicurus on the street, because Epicurus was just living out of a fucking barrel in his fucking bum clothes on the street like a homeless person.
Right. I think this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, go ahead, please.
And he says, the one thing that Epicurus says to Alexander the Great is he asks him if he can move because he's standing in his light. Get out of the way,
Yes.
Alexander the Great! You're fucking blocking my light, dog. He's nothing to him. And then, on Alexander the Great's deathbed, he said, if there was one person that he can relive his life as, it would be Epicurus.
That's exactly where I got the trope of kings would trade places with these
Yes.
fuckers,
I'm
dude.
glad, 'cause
They
that's
would
exactly-
happily
yeah.
trade places back then.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, you don't get the respect. Why can't I be a transcendental philosophist? I'm so tapped in, bro.
A lot of them
Come on.
they
I
might
knew
wish they were you.
rosemary was a antimicrobial. Okay, I knew this.
Elon Musk is probably like, oh boy, I really wish I was one of those Popsicle guys right now. Neon J, is that his name?
Real fucking gamers who are smart? Yeah, exactly.
Damn, real gamers. Fuck that guy.
Okay, so hey, yeah, but you were saying, look, it asked me, which I didn't answer it because I was on a roll of questions of my own, but it said, essentially in short, that Isaac Newton and the Christian alchemists saw Christ as the ultimate alchemist,
Wow.
turning death into life, base into divine. So for them to do the magnum opus was to imitate Christ. And then it
Like
said, do you
Christ.
want to hear how this shaped secret societies like the Rosicrucians?
Yeah.
Or early
The
Freemasons?
Rosicrucians are great.
And that's exactly where you were going. Yeah, we can go into them later too. I don't know
That's
much
another
about them, so
episode.
that would be cool.
That's a whole episode.
Yeah. So yeah, he went into a little more. Chad Jippity went into a little more of, which by the way, I saw somebody use on a different video. I saw the name Chad Jippity, and I know they got it from us.
They gotta
But-
have. They had to have.
So they paired planets with metals based on what we were talking about. Their characteristics: gold, brilliance; sun, silver's pale
Wow.
glow; moon, red rusting of iron; Mars. Perform solar workings with gold on Sundays. Do
Wow.
Venus rituals with copper on
on
Fridays.
Sunday. The Sun Day.
They would do certain things on certain days.
How funny it's named the Sun Day, and you do the sun stuff on that day.
Mm-hmm.
Alchemy is prevalent even today, guys.
So then I asked, so did the Christian faith attempt to co-opt the alchemical movement? And it said, yes.
Yes.
Christian institutions and thinkers did attempt to co-opt alchemy, especially during the late medieval times. But it was less about control and more about reinterpretation. And I was like,
Nice.
And then, yeah, to control the narrative, spiritualize science, and preserve the work. Christian framing actually protected many alchemical texts from being labeled heretical or pagan because they were able to Christianize them.
Right.
Because they understood that there's truth there, dude.
Alexander the Great comes down and tries to burn all your books, but one of them is coded in it. It's like, oh, all right. I'll let that one slide because it sounds Christian. No, I'm not an alchemical book. I'm part of the Bible. All right, you get a pass. People are smart preserving that knowledge back then. Shit, I wouldn't even thought of that.
Yep. And it was probably a low key like closet alchemist who was just happened to be like in the church. It was
Like a
like,
gay
"All right,
alchemist.
Let's Christianize this shit. But I really do think they Christianized it to take control of it because it was getting popular.
Why does the alchemist have to be gay?
I didn't say gay, did I? Did
You said a closeted alchemist.
I say closeted? Oh, haha. Yeah, I get it. Haha.
You're just kidding, guys. Hit the like button.
Okay, so then I asked, so wait a minute. The Christianization of this information is more rooted in the spiritual aspect of it and not the physical transmutation of metals. And like you're saying, the OG alchemists as well were really using alchemical language to share messages of how to achieve enlightenment through other channels than the main churches.
That's awesome.
So the fact that the alchemists were sharing messages of how to achieve enlightenment through other channels than the main churches. That's why the alchemists, seem to believe that you can reach enlightenment through self, while the Christian interpretation led it all back to God's doing.
I
And then
believe.
GPT said, exactly, you're dialed in now. I'm always dialed in, baby.
I believe that since Rosemary has attachment to the sun in alchemy, and I believe the sun is a spiritual entity orb, then I believe that next time I go sky watching, I should wear a crown of rosemary.
Yeah, you can do that. Maybe wear some gold.
Gold, yes. Nice. The Anunnaki
Something
love
that
gold.
represents the gold. Yeah. Represents purity.
Wow. A white wedding dress.
So let's see here. I like this word here. Original alchemists believe the divine spark
This
or
is
the
definitely
prima.
a 10-foot dive.
10 foot? You think?
Definitely. That's a
There's
deep,
so much
that's
more.
a deep pool for me.
Look where this is too.
10
Check
feet
this out.
deep?
Look, where you see this? Can you make the screen big?
Oh, let me do that. There it is. Ah.
You see this here? Look at this.
yeah.
And look where we are. Look at where I
Whoa.
go. This is I'm
All
skipping
right.
some stuff, you know.
That's cool
But-
though. I love it.
Yeah, we can stop here if you want.
It just goes on and on because I feel like it's just linked to the truth of everything.
Yeah, we found out that Christians are basically co-opted alchemy. It goes back to everything. It connects all these religions or thoughts and all this stuff. It's about spiritual enlightenment and working on the stuff from the outside because
Wow.
one reflects the other. So even though the main beef of alchemy was really referring to the soul and one's personal enlightenment, some alchemical scientists were able to use these ideas of transmuting materials through means of combination to create medicines and things of the sort. And it said, yes, exactly. That's when things get interesting.
That's why churches don't pay taxes.
No, you're
Yeah.
missing it.
No, it's because the government wants to use them to
Oh, that's control.
use almost to like retain these alchemical teachings, since some of them still exist within the Bible.
No, because Christianity still co-opted it. They still took it over. They still claim that what they're teaching is wrong. It's
Because
all about
the
God.
government
This is God.
lets them. It encourages
Not about
them
the-
to.
I think it's more they don't pay taxes because it's easier for them to, like, it's just like a reward basically for controlling the masses.
On anything that teaches old alchemical things, those are tax exempt, and the government helps them so that they can preserve these alchemical teachings within their religions.
Yeah, possibly. I feel like they already have them. I don't think they need religion to do it anymore.
They need the government to back them so that
But
it doesn't go
We don't need.
away.
See, we don't need churches for this.
We don't.
We didn't need church. We didn't even get this information from church.
Interesting.
You know,
Yeah, government might be evil anyway.
they
so.
they got it through conjecture. We got it through collection of information from everywhere.
I'm assuming the government are good
Life
guys
is-
too, so
Life is our teacher.
right. Sorry, I'm tardy.
So that was no, I don't feel tardy. It's no big deal.
Hey.
All right, so let's see. Let's keep going here. So the alchemists essentially were the modern day. Back then, they were the ones creating medicines.
That's right. The staff of Hermes is a symbol of medical field.
People. Yeah, good point. The people creating medicines back then were alchemists. They just did not refer to themselves that way.
And the
But
serpents,
they were. That's where the medicines came from, bro. Paracelsus says he who is born a physician is also born an alchemist.
the serpents going up the staff of Hermes represents the evolution of consciousness to its higher self.
Nice.
Its spiral upward. A perfect golden
It seems
ratio
a culted
spiral.
alchemist. Yeah, so they leaned into the message of it being physical, simply physical, to hide what they're actually talking about, which is what we knew. We talked about that a little bit.
Right.
We go into like what kind of things they made, what they made them out of. They actually made this potable, drinkable gold. They dissolve gold and mix it with wine or honey,
Nice.
and it was known to extend your life, vitality, enlightenment.
I
and there's
met an
things out here-
alchemist one time while
you?
delivering weed. Yeah, he started talking to me about alchemy and shit, and he's like, I eat a piece of gold every morning because blah blah blah. He's letting me know
Wow.
all the. I'm like, that's some wild stuff. Like, that's pretty cool, actually. He seems like
There's-
he's really
but
into it.
They sell colloidal gold nowadays still, but the FDA doesn't say like, oh, these are proven facts, but they sell colloidal gold, which is gold
Yeah.
capsules.
Nice. I use
So that's
colloidal
crazy. That
silver
guy did it. This guy does it.
on my dogs.
It was known to help, like, so these people, like, it's pretty fucking crazy.
That's cool, yeah.
And they called alchemy called spirits because it came from the spirit of the plant that they took it from.
Wow. Okay.
It's like the essence of the plant, the spirit
Yeah.
of it.
So those
that they
spirits are
took
having a
and made
good
into
time. Those
alcohol.
plants are having a good time. Those plants are just fucking drunk
Yeah.
and just faded, having a good time in the sun.
And that's basically where my journey here on GPT ended, was
Wow.
asking what it made, and people drank things, they made
I
medicines.
see. That's cool though.
And I asked him if rum comes from the word al rum, whatever, and it said no. But however, alcohol was called spirits because it was seen as the extracted essence of a substance.
Nice. I love that.
So drinking gold, which was the fixed divine principle, with the spirit of a substance, you were drinking purified light, basically.
A lot of wine's made from grapes, so grapes must have some kind of link to Dionysus, to the party god, to fertilization. I don't know. Shit. That's cool though.
And that was about that.
awesome.
That's about that there as far as the philosophical alchemy is. So don't get confused that it is both physical and spiritual. They did them both. But the search for the philosopher's stone and turning lead to gold was most likely purposely impossible to drive the spirit to never lose inspiration, because you're only one day away from spiritual enlightenment.
Whoa. Harry Potter.
And then I watched a video. I learned that Zoroaster was known as like used fire in a lot of his rituals.
Ahura Mazda.
Known as one of the not like the father of alchemy, but one of the progenitors of alchemy, meaning like the ideas and stuff that he used, alchemy took.
Whoa, that's crazy.
The battle between light and dark, the duality of good and evil, alchemy takes.
Zoroaster.
Like he's almost like a father of alchemy, bro. Zoroaster.
Shit. The
So-
world's most powerful magi.
A lot of the shit's connected, man. Is all I'm gonna say. And the book doesn't just stop at Western Christianity. All right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more behind it, and it came from so much, and alchemy is part of it all, dude. And it still runs today. I for sure subscribe to alchemical tenets. Like,
Right?
not really like when it
I
comes
just
to
passively
mixing
think about
plants and
them.
stuff. Exactly. I don't really do the physical work of mixing plants and shit,
Yeah.
but there's so much soul alchemy I'm doing, and it's good, bro. It was a good deep dive, and I learned a lot more about alchemy and why they talk
What was that
the way
thing
they
that I
talk.
told you to look that we opened up a new tab for?
Let's see. Epicurus. The Rosicrucians. I got Epicurus here, and Matan talking to a guy, and
maybe nothing.
I pulled.
the lizard people murderers.
Heyo.
We can watch later in life, but you know.
Maybe we can talk about it after the podcast. We can talk about it in another episode. This
All right, cool.
audiobook I heard, the Lesser Key of Solomon. Supposedly like one of the oldest occult books. And when I was listening to it, it sounds like the audiobook I listened to had like some stupid fucking cheesy, like fucking dark ass spooky music behind to make it seem weird. It is kind of weird shit. Like it talked about demons and how he mastered the power of these demons in order to gain knowledge about all of the universe, and it talks about how you can say certain incantations to cast spells to cast away these demons. And like the Bible talks about Solomon as being like one of the wisest men.
I know what you're talking about. I saw a video talking about that, and it would help them find riches and shit. And then, but then, dude, yeah, we'll go into that.
Hell yeah. Well, people,
The same guy who did the Chronovisor video did a video on that.
hell yeah, the Key of Solomon and shit.
Solomon.
He's supposed in the Bible only refers to him as like a extremely wise sage. Like he had his extreme wisdom led him to riches and shit. But like they don't tell you about the stuff that apparently the things that he knew, and it's like the names of all these different demons and spirits and shit that allow him to control the world. It's crazy shit. I'll get into it. You want to wrap it up?
Do that. That'll be fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Let me go back to the stream here. All right, people.
If there's one thing you guys take away today, fuck Bashar. But go ahead, Jason. Take it away.
Screw Bashar. Thank you. I almost forgot about that. I'm glad you brought him up. Screw Bashar. I'm Bashar. Come over here to Neon Popsicle. We won't charge you a dime until we get going, and then we can start charging you guys to get into our Discord. Until then, reach out to us on Instagram and see if you guys could be one of the first in the Discord. Free of charge.
We're going to have our first 100 members, because then after that, shit gets crazy to start handling. You need to start getting mods. You need people to start moderating things. And that's when we have to start charging, not for selfish needs, but to just keep things smooth and to keep the show going better and better for you guys. So once our first 100 members, free Discord access. After that, we have to start charging, because we've got to get somebody to start moderating it. There's too many people. It gets a little chaotic. So
yeah,
I think that's a good way to put it.
Idea.
First 100 members, free. After that, $3.99. After 500 members, we got to charge more, because it's too much to handle.
Well, tell your friends. We got 20 subscribers already. So the spots are filling up fast, people.
Yeah, hit us up, subscribe. Hit us up for the link on Instagram. We'll talk about that too after the podcast. We'll come up with some ideas. I have some ideas for the cast.
Oh yeah.
Instagram. All right, cool.
Until next time.
Thank you.
On Popsicle.
Yeah, share the show. Don't stop sharing.
Please. And we
Much
are
love.